Hi, Andy Manthei.
Hello.
Thank you so much for spending time with me.
Oh, my pleasure.
It's been quite a year, huh?
It has been an interesting year, yeah, to say the least.
Um, Happy holidays, happy 2021.
Thank you.
We're into it now, halfway through a
Happy
month.
New Year. Yeah.
Here we go.
2021 is supposed to be a better year.
Yeah, let's hope so. Although 2020 finished off pretty great, it's just different than what we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely wasn't my worst year in the business. It wasn't a bad year at all. It was just a different year.
It's just a different year. Well, and that brings us to where we're at today because we're doing things differently. We don't often, right now with the way that things have gone in the world, some of us haven't gone into the office. Some of us, we're not going to bump into each other having a cup of coffee down at the,
Right.
at the training room over there. So this has been the way that we really wanted to get engagement in our agent population
Sure.
of who are you and what are we doing, and
Yeah.
that this is kind of that portal of
Okay.
we thought this might be a way that we can do it.
Sure.
Just a brief conversation, so that the agents can get to know you and they can learn more about you, as well as then when you're watching the videos you'll get to see them too. So that's kind of our goal, is to
All right.
build community in a digital way, and
Sounds
this is
good.
the way that we thought we could do it.
Okay.
So let's start by tell me about your business. Tell me how long you've been doing this. It's fascinating to me, and probably to a lot of people that are going to watch, commercial. And,
Yep.
and when I think commercial, I think Andy. I think, this is what we do.
Yep.
So tell us how long you've been doing this. What drew you to commercial?
Sure.
And what does your business look like? Explain to the agents who may not understand
Yep.
that there's different niches within commercial. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I got into commercial real estate in 2003, the beginning of 2003. So this will be my 18th year. So it's been a while. I got into the business. I was a financial analyst in St. Paul.
Okay.
And just got sick of sitting behind a computer all day running numbers. It just wasn't really for me. I had a relative as a developer in commercial real estate who I interned with a little bit while I was still working full time, and thought I would want to get into development. So through some relationships, I was actually hired by a small boutique brokerage firm to help them bring their accounting in-house.
Okay.
And as part of it, they transitioned me to a broker role once I brought the books on board. So it took about 3 to 6 months to complete that, and then I became a full-time broker. I got licensed before I took the job, just to be prepared for real estate. But commercial real estate is just very different than residential. So everything I was learning was completely different than anything I did to get a license. I mean, there's really no crossover at all.
Yeah.
Which is fine, because I didn't want to sell houses, but I also didn't think I'd become a broker. I thought I'd just get into the business and then get into development. But then once I started transacting and realizing how much fun I was having representing businesses, I decided that's just what I wanted to be.
Okay.
I was a commercial real estate broker. My focus is industrial and office properties. That's really my niche. I spend about 50% of my time in each product type, representing landlords and sellers, and then half the time is also spent representing tenants and buyers.
Okay.
I do have some retail product just through secondary sources and existing clients that keep buying more and adding to their portfolio, but it's not a niche I try to go secure myself. I don't solicit it. But sometimes you just end up working on it because that client wants you to work on their portfolio. Which is nice with our office and how many people we have here. A lot of times I'll partner. I partner with other brokers. It's just what I do. I want the experts of a certain area, of a certain product type to work with me on that property. So if I'm not the perfect fit for my client's property, I'll partner with somebody else. I might still be the voice between my client, but I'll have an expert in that neighborhood, in that product type, work with me on it, just so they're getting the best value and the best marketing team for their projects. So yeah. I do that a lot, and it's fun.
Yeah.
Commercial real estate is a blast. It's just a very unique industry. I mean, every deal is different, and all the product is different, and sometimes it's hard for others to understand it. That it's not just cookie cutter. It's
Yeah.
a retail deal to an industrial deal are night and day, and the needs are completely different. The demands for the clients are different, and so it's interesting just to kind of go through that process with clients and then new brokers and try to teach them and educate them on the complexities of each transaction. So
Yeah, it's interesting because there's so many different puzzle pieces that go along with bringing a deal together.
yeah,
Because you're dealing with different departments, if you will,
yeah,
inside of a business,
mm-hmm.
as well as the actual real estate itself. You're dealing with a lot of moving parts,
Absolutely,
a lot of governmental things that get involved in cities situations
very
that,
much so.
yeah, interesting. So it is, that's what I've learned in coming into this, not necessarily with a great commercial knowledge base,
Yep,
and boy, it's very different. The principles are still the same because it's still people.
yep,
It's just so different with the way that it comes together.
yep, and the needs.
Exactly.
Simple example. A industrial client who does distribution, they care about where their customers are coming. Where are my customers that I'm serving? Where's my product coming from? How am I getting it from point A to point B? How quickly can I get it moved? Cost of fuel. So location is important. Clear height is important for racking. We're a retail customer. Where's my client? How easily can they pull into my parking lot, grab what they want, and pull out of my parking lot and keep going to their destination? Because if they've got to zigzag around or do a U-turn back, they won't go there. So just little things that you wouldn't think about, but they're so important to their business that it's a deal breaker.
It's a real thing.
For their business.
Yeah.
So location is important. Office users, who are my employees? Where am I recruiting from? If I have a large corporation with 1,000 employees, I need to be by a workforce that I'm hiring from. So we have to be in a location that has public transportation, amenities for food. I mean, you can't send someone out to lunch for 45 minutes. You have to have amenities close by. They quick grab and go. So
Yeah.
just little
Different
things that
things.
if every company has their own demands and what's most important to them, but each industry, they're very different, and you can't look at them the same. So when you try to represent a certain client, you have to know these are going to be the priorities for this industry. These are the priorities for this industry and this product type. So then you can better represent your companies and the businesses and
Yeah.
their needs.
Where have you found your greatest source of business? When I ask that of residential agents, they most often say their sphere and referrals.
Yep.
So for you, where have you found your greatest source of business throughout the years?
When I got into the business, I did a lot of door knocking and cold calling. I'm not a great phone call person. Cold calling, opening a door to someone you've never met that doesn't know who you are and what you can do is tough for me. So I did better going door to door. It gave me a chance to see the product they're in, see the neighborhood they're in, and from there I could usually have a conversation with them, good or bad, about something I saw at the property or in their space that I thought was maybe inefficient or not as good a quality as something else that could lead to questions and conversations on how we can maybe help them solve a problem that maybe they don't know they have.
Right.
But more importantly, in commercial real estate, when I bring on new agents, I always have them focus on a specific area. I mean,
Like a
it's
geographic
hard,
area?
a geographic
Okay.
area and a product type. Because
Okay.
it's hard to be everything to everyone. And you don't become an expert at one thing if you're doing everything. So I say, I don't care if you don't like it, you don't like the product, you don't like the location, but you just got to jump in and do something. You know, you're going to learn along the way, and get good at something and get clients, get income, and then if you want to make a change later on, make the adjustment into something else. But get good, understand the process. The transactional process is still the same. You can learn a new product, but get into it, learn it, and then figure out what you like or don't like. But I know a lot of people, it's kind of tough because you see a dollar and you want to get the dollar. But when you write down your game plan and your goals, you're chasing the $5 bill, which is 5 feet further, but it's a lot easier to pick up this $1 bill right here than it is just to keep your focus
Yeah.
to get to the $5 bill.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times I have new agents that are chasing these small deals, which it's money,
Yeah.
but it's not actually helping them get to their goal and their focus in their area because this deal is easy. I can go do it, but it's taking them away from the neighborhood they were trying to work. Because I think what a lot of people don't realize is when you have a focus in a territory, once you have groomed that territory, you know all the products in that area, you know all the owners, you know all the incentives, you know all the pros and cons of the landlords, the management companies. It makes it real easy to transact. So
You become the resource.
then when you get that phone call from someone that says, "Hey, I need 5,000 feet of space," you can say, "Oh, well, you have two choices. You have this building or this building." You don't need to pull up your computer to look. You already know.
Yeah.
So now your time to transact goes down. I mean, you're saving time. You already know the market, and now you can educate people. And when you call an owner and you see that their space has been available, you can say, "Hey, why has your space been available for so long? I know you have a listing. I mean, is it coming up soon? I mean, is it expired? If you have a broker, I can talk to them and see if I have a lead." But
What's going on?
It allows
Yeah.
you to have those conversations that, hey, I'm doing these deals over here. Why aren't you getting these deals here? Did you even see this deal? And you become that expert.
Yeah.
If you don't like that territory, fine. Later on, move on. But by then, I'm sure you're going to have some repeat business and some new business, and it's easy to transact. You might not want to go and start over.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's very similar. It's just become the resource that people go to. And in order to do that, you're just becoming a master of your craft. It's that whole mastery.
I'll be honest, I don't do a lot of cold calling these days, but I don't have. I have more business that comes to me than I need to go get. I'm more selective on what I'm working on because I have so much business that comes towards me.
Sure.
So it's my choice what I want to do. And I do turn down a lot of business, and it's just a lot of times it's not going to be a cost-effective project to work on for myself or my team, or it's just not a product type that's a good fit for our team.
Yeah.
We want to be experts of our area. If someone calls me about a project in Faribault, sure, we could do that, but is it worth our time to be driving to Faribault to try to lease up retail space, which really isn't our focus?
Right.
No, and we don't want to be doing that. Can we refer it out and hopefully still keep it within our family and the KW office or another agent that might want to work on more product like that? Sure.
Yeah.
We'll try to be that resource because we would like to keep the relationship, but it's not always in our best interest for our business to do that.
Right.
So we have to decide that once in a while. But
yeah, you're not going to be able to service that client the best because it's not your neck of the woods or your area or your specialty.
Yeah, and my specialty is more this airport market, 494 to I'd say 35W to Woodbury. It's kind of been my territory for the last 17, 18 years. So that's where I try to focus. And a lot of brokers are on the Metro Colliers and CV. I mean, they will call me and they'll give me referrals in this area because they know I work this area and I'm one of the best in this area. So, and I'll kick them a referral fee. But I mean, the fact that they're not passing it to their own broker in their own office,
interesting, yeah,
is pretty unique.
Huh.
So.
So tell us about your team. You've mentioned them a couple of times. So
what
does that look like?
Our team, so it's AMK Properties. It's Matt Klein and myself, David Lund, Keith Scott, and then we have Anthony Bassinante, and we have our management run by Holly Taft. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's not a huge team, but we're pretty focused. Matt and Anthony focus a lot on investment sales.
Okay.
I work more with users and businesses looking to occupy space for their own use and multi-tenant landlord space, trying to fill their available space for lease. David Lund works more on the office side. Okay. So he works with me a lot on office and some industrial deals. And then Keith is focused more on industrial and office product on the north side of town, where he kind of covers that north market territory that we don't service ourselves.
Right.
So, we've been.
How are you guys? How are you pivoting with COVID? Are you doing anything differently?
Well, once COVID hit, one of the first things we started doing was putting our marketing, being more visual with our marketing, trying to get photos of the interior of the spaces. We started leaving a lot of our vacancies unlocked. In multi-tenant buildings like this, we might leave our vacancies unlocked so people that don't feel safe meeting us out there can just pop their heads in, look at a space. So we try to make it easier for those that are not comfortable out traveling,
Sure.
that they can see what spaces look like online. Normally, we wouldn't do that. We want to be there. I don't think pictures always sell a space. I'm a good salesperson. I'd like to be there to sell my properties. I know the pros and cons about the buildings, about the neighborhood, about the amenities, about the community. So we like to be there. But if for some reason people didn't want us there, we wanted to make it easy for everyone to access our spaces and to see them online.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing we did. And for meeting clients these days, well, we don't. You know, that's a lot of Zoom calls,
Yeah.
a lot of phone calls, a lot more emailing and texting. It's different, but it's still the same game. I mean, for office properties, obviously last year was a fairly slow year. A lot of companies had their employees working from home.
Yeah.
That's still the case, and honestly, I don't see it changing for a little while. But these companies are starting to contact us and say, "Hey, we want to start preparing for staff coming back. Let's talk about what our needs are going to be.
Yeah.
What's the new office layout going to look like? Are we going to still have coercion where we're going to all sit together,
Right.
or are we going to go back to having private offices?"
Right.
It's a function of space. It affects the size of your space. But I think a lot of companies realize that their employees aren't as collaborative when they're not together.
Yeah.
And you lose a lot of company loyalty when you're not together. I mean, if you're coming to the office and you're hanging out with your friends every day, you're going to lunch, you're doing company parties, you start to believe that you're part of something.
Yeah.
And when you're at home and you just do your job and then you sign off at 4 and you don't really see anybody, do you still have that love of the company that those that are actually working together do?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of companies realize they don't have that. So you can offer them as an incentive to work from home, but you lose that loyalty? Because now if they can get another job where they can still work from home, you get paid 5,000 more. Your loyalty of allowing them to work from home is just something they can use to go get another job somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But if you have that, community, now you have something that creates them to want to stay. This is why I want to be a part of this. I have friends here. I think a lot of corporations realize that it is important to get those staff back.
Are you seeing repurposing? It's kind of that. It's the hot button word that I'm reading about, and researching, and hearing about is some of these buildings are repurposing their facilities. Are you hearing that as well?
Yes and no. I have a couple owners that have office buildings that are more flex warehouse buildings, okay, where they might have had 70-80% office and then a little bit of warehousing. And they're starting to demo a lot of that warehousing because the office finish people want is now more like 20% office, 80% warehouse. Keep some of the sales staff at home. They can just go do their appointments. So they have been converting space like that. I'd say for like the multi-tenant office buildings, the conversions that I've been seeing are more of the landlords trying to make safer communal space. So they're putting up more dividers out in the lobbies. The cafeteria areas are having more separation of space to go eat, grab food, smaller conferencing space to separate. Or for conferencing, some of it's larger. Where
distancing.
We wanted to have a 4-person conference room, but now we want it to be a 10-person for 4 people.
Right.
So we can space out.
Yeah.
So it's different. Putting dividers up on the conference tables. So it's more, I think, safety changes that I'm seeing.
Okay.
But the tenants themselves, I think, are making their own changes. So as they're considering new space or renewals, what do we need to do to provide safety to our staff? What's the flow going to look like for our office? Are we going to have as many people come in? Are we going to bring half of the people in and then have the other half rotate in? Those are the decisions that companies are trying to make right now that I think we don't have an answer yet exactly what it's going to look like, but it's going to change. So
Yeah. It's interesting. We can talk about this all day. I know
yeah,
it's totally off script, but I'm just like so interested
yeah.
in that. So, okay, what made you choose after you went to your boutique
Yeah.
company? What made you choose Keller Williams?
Um, it's actually some friends. Becky Liebens,
Okay.
who's a KW agent that is now down in. I don't know where she's at
I
right
think
now.
she's
I
in
think she's in
Texas.
Texas.
I think
She
she was in
went to
California.
California and she's in Texas.
Yeah.
She's moved around. And it was Becky Liebens.
Okay.
It was Tom Baker,
Okay.
Pat Cropsey, myself, and Matt Klein. So Becky heard about KW and she said, "Hey, you got to come check this place out." She knew I kind of ran my own book of business.
Yeah.
Tom Baker kind of was the same thing. He had his own client base, had his own management company, and some of his own real estate that they were dealing with. He was looking at coming over, and Matt and I had worked a lot, and we're actually working on some deals at the exact same time. We were both talking about not being happy where we're at, and said, "Hey, let's look at this." And it was really the cap structure and the fee structure that sold us on coming over because we were already entrepreneurial people doing our own book of business. And we just saw the opportunity where we could not give half our money to the corporation and just pay our cap and then keep the rest for ourselves. So Matt came over within like 3 days.
Yeah.
Like immediately. And he and I were working on a deal where I was a listing agent, so I couldn't leave. So it ended up took me about 6 months. So 6 months later, we closed our deal. I came over, and it was Becky, Pat, Tom, and I, and Matt. And then from there, we just started recruiting because we wanted to make KW a huge commercial brand that was competitive in the marketplace, that wasn't considered a residential real estate company. So we wanted the KW brand to be taken seriously, and I think within 2 years we had put some serious projects on the board that they did.
Yeah.
And it helped that a lot of us had great reputations before we left.
Yeah.
So they already knew who we were. They already knew the kind of projects we worked on, the clients we worked with, so they took us seriously. But it took a few years of growing pains for them to really trust that KW was a commercial real estate company, not a residential real estate company.
Got it.
Yeah.
And that was in 2003?
That was
2000. No,
that was 2010, 11.
Okay.
I came over in 11.
Got it.
It was 2010-ish.
Yeah.
That Becky and Matt were here.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
Yeah,
You've come a long way, baby.
10 years.
I know. Wow.
Started the 11th year. So.
Okay, so outside of business, tell us about you. What do you love to do?
Well,
tell us about your family.
I have 2 children. So I have a 13-year-old daughter who's in middle school, and I have an 11-year-old son in 5th grade. My wife, Katie, is working from home. She's one of those lucky ones that works for a large corporation that doesn't want her to come back anytime soon.
Really? Okay.
So she's with Travelers Insurance, and gets to stay home. So that's worked out really well because our kids have not been in school a lot because of home schooling, and so that's been helpful. But we spend a lot of time with sports. I've got a daughter in gymnastics, a son that plays hockey, football, golf, baseball, and I coach most of his sports. So we spend a lot of time at the rink, and so that's most of my off time. But when we do get free time, we've got a lake place up by Brainerd, the Gull Lake chain.
Yeah.
So we spend a lot of time at the cabin, and then we like to go camping quite a bit too. So.
Did you get some? Were you doing ice fishing?
Yeah, we do ice fish quite a bit. Or I like to. Hockey doesn't allow a lot of that. But whenever we get a break, I try to swing up north for a day or two to ice fish as well. So, and then in the summer, if I get free time to golf, I like to golf. But usually it's coaching sports or watching sports.
How fun is that?
It's great. It's great. I mean,
and they grow so fast. It goes like that.
I know. We got a daughter that's 3 years away from driving, and it's pretty scary.
Yeah. And gymnastics, that's pretty intense as far as like practicing. Well, now I suppose things might be different, of
Yeah, no,
course.
she's usually 3 to 4 times a week for 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours. She just broke her hand.
Oh,
She tends to break something once a year about this time in gymnastics. Usually
okay.
it's a foot or an ankle, but it's a hand.
Okay.
So she's out for a couple weeks. But yeah, it's extremely intense, and she's very competitive. She's on the top team out of the FGC program in Farmington, so it's fun.
How fun is that? Really
Yeah.
good. Um, what would you say you are most proud of into the business world now? What would you say you're most proud of, or you're most that you feel most fulfilled in, or proudest of in your business?
Um, I don't know if it's specific to the business, but I'd say for my practice, um, I think my reputation out there for being ethical and honest has gotten me the farthest in this business. And I think a lot of people that come in, you can transact, but in commercial real estate, especially, it's such a small market in the Twin Cities. I mean, there's really only about 500 real active brokers in Minnesota that are like
Doing
real
it.
doing deals daily. And you get to know all these brokers. And you don't do one transaction with them. You see them multiple times a year. So you can't burn bridges. And you have to be cooperative. I mean, so if you try to nickel and dime on fees, because it's not like residential, every deal we have, I mean, I can tell a broker what his fee's going to be or not going to be. I mean, it's on our listings. It's not like it's, hey, this is what it's going to be. We
Hmm.
don't just put it out there. So every deal is a negotiation. But if you're not fair and you're not honest with these brokers, they're not going to want to do business with you.
Yeah.
And it's not just the brokers; it's your own clients. It's just being honest because you're not going to do one lease with them. You sign a lease, you move into a space, you're only there 3 to 5 years, and you need to do it again. You
Mm-hmm.
either grow and you move again, or you like your space and you want to renew, and they call you back to help them again. So if you're not fair and honest with these people, they're not going to call you back. And more importantly, they're going to tell others that, hey, I wouldn't work with this guy because he stiffed me or whatever it is, or
Right.
he sold me a bill of goods that my space really wasn't. So I think that's the biggest thing that you know I've taken seriously is just being honest with people
Yeah.
because you're going to see them again. You're going to do business with them again. And even when I come across smaller users that I can't always assist, I try to at least point them in the right direction because I can't represent everybody. If you want a single office, I can't represent you. It's not worth my time to help you do that. I can point you to landlords that might have space, and I'll just tell them, look at these are some opportunities that I think might be available to you. I can't go negotiate on your behalf. I just don't have the time to allocate to it. But if you grow, if you determine you need a little bit more space, then I might be able to assist you. But in the meantime, at least I'll throw you a bone and point you in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Because you never know where that trend is going to
You never
become next
know.
Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't just push people away, but I can't, just try to be nice to everybody if you can.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that I hear that about you on the streets.
So,
You're a straight shooter. You'll tell them kindly, and you'll tell them, and that's cool in our business.
well, I like repeat business.
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
I like to do deals faster. And if brokers trust you and they know, hey, I can get a deal done faster by working with Andy than I can with someone else that's going to keep kicking things down the road and maybe not tell us everything, they're going to pick the easy choice, the smooth transaction. And I'm the same way. If my clients and I are going to look at properties and I can see which brokers are involved in them, I'm going to drive them towards the easier transaction. Who's going to be more honest to work with? Who's going to give you a better experience and know that at the end of the day, you're probably getting what you're paying for. You're not getting sold something that you're not supposed to get.
Yeah.
And I think that's important.
Okay, so now share with us your greatest learning lesson. Not failure, because we never fail, either win or we learn. But tell us something that you were like, ooh, I learned a lesson in this
Um, hmm.
one.
I don't know if I have one offhand that I can think of that's like exponential, but I can tell you that early on I learned that pre-qualifying people and knowing who you're working with before you get really far down the road can save you a lot of headache and money. Um, I spent a lot of time early on. Every phone call I got, they'd say, "Let's go do this. Let's go look at space. I want to do this." And I'd go spend hours driving around looking at space, only to find out that when it's time to sign a lease, they had no money,
Yeah.
they had no business plan,
Yeah.
and we weren't going to get a deal done. And I did it with buyers too. We're under contract with banks, and the banks all of a sudden you're underwriting it. You're 30 days into it, and they're like, "These guys don't have money. They don't have the credit. We're not going to approve the loan."
Yeah.
And I can't go get financing elsewhere. So now I look like a jerk to the other broker who's representing the seller, saying these
Right.
guys shouldn't have even been looking at space.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to be nice about it now, but I can within 10 questions know if someone is serious about what they want to do.
Yeah. So now you've
'Cause-
pre-qualified them. So now you learned, right? Now I've put a system in place
Yeah.
so that I always
Right.
make sure that they've got
Absolutely.
their
And
money.
I'm trying to help our newer agents because I've got agents on my team that still make some of the mistakes I used to make.
Yeah.
And I try to be more helpful with them to know that when you just first talk to people, ask them a bunch of questions. If they call to look at your space, don't just say, "Sure, what time you want to go see it?"
Yeah.
Let's talk first.
Mm-hmm.
We want to, your time is, you only have so much time in a day. And if you spend it just driving to meet anybody that wants to go look at something, you're not going to make much money.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be smart with your time, efficient with your time. And it's not that you're mean, that you don't trust people, but
No,
it's your job for their own sake to pre-qualify them for the space they might want to lease or
Right.
purchase.
Right.
So asking them some questions and them being able to answer them properly is a pretty good indicator of their seriousness and qualifications to proceed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, man. If we could just take everything we've learned and bottled it,
Yeah.
yeah, we'd make $1,000,000.
But sometimes it's good for them to make the mistakes, and I did it too.
Yeah. We
Because
gotta
it sure
learn.
teaches you, like, man, that was a waste of my time. I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah. True story. Okay. So KW Select, our new office space.
Mm-hmm.
KW Commercial Midwest. Tell us what you love about us, what you love about the space, what you love about our future, and what you hope for our future.
This is an easy one. The staff here is amazing. Okay, it's just hands down amazing.
We got good peeps, don't we?
Such a strong support structure, not just for finding resources, but just support structure. Like, you need something doesn't work. I mean, people are on it immediately. They answer your questions. They're nice about it. I mean, talk about friendly staff. It makes a huge difference. Um, if I was in an office where it was constantly pulling teeth to try to get paid, to submit a green sheet, whatever it might be, it starts to lose its fun. But when you have people that bend over backwards to get you things, even when you don't deserve to have it that fast, you get very appreciative of the staff. So that itself is a huge draw for me. It's just how nice everyone is and how helpful everyone is. But the new digs are awesome. I mean, beautiful windows, beautiful space, super functional.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, the way that the lighting comes in, it's just, it's.
As an office broker,
yeah,
when you walk people through a space before they sign a lease, and you see how bad a space looks prior to you starting construction on it, not everyone has vision. So to work with, I love when people can walk in and see past carpet and paint, see past the burned out light fixture, to see the vision of what it can be when it's cleaned up.
Yeah.
Because, if you don't walk into a space like this and see how much glass there is, but like once you have working lights and updated paint and walls and doors, how gorgeous it can be, you can really appreciate the end product, because it's easy to go look at the next one that's middle of the road because it's already closer to where you want to be. But knowing you're getting what you want getting it done right. Um,
Yeah.
you really appreciate it once you see it. I mean,
Yeah.
even David, who was in it before, walked in, he's like, wow, this is really nice.
Yeah.
Even a guy like him, he's
And
like,
to get from
I'm
David,
like, you
that's
should be able to
awesome.
see this vision. Come on, what do you do?
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
turned out really, really well. We still have a few things that we're going to be doing, and it is so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. So, what are your hopes for us in the future?
Well, I'm selfish,
Yeah.
and I'd love to see our office, take over the number one spot in profitability for the region. I mean, I'd love to see it go further than that, but at a minimum, take over the number one spot in the region.
That's what I like to hear. Yes.
So let's get the agent count up over 200. Let's get some profitability up, and let's have some fun.
Yeah. Production. Really good people, good energy, good synergy. We got some humming. I don't know if when you walk in the office, you can feel it.
Yeah.
You can feel it. Even in the midst of some of us still, we're not full capacity. Not everybody's back.
Right.
And we still got some really good energy.
Well, I'm here 5 days a week. When
Yeah.
I'm not traveling and doing stuff, I'm here 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And I'm here for that synergy. I mean, I'm productive when I'm in here. You hear what's happening in the market when you're here.
Yeah.
You hear what's happening with other users looking in the marketplace. And you can hear what transactions are taking place with your own friends and agents. So when you're here, you know what's going on. When you're not, you're not.
Yeah.
You can see what posts on Facebook and you can, follow LinkedIn and do that stuff. But to be here, to talk about the deals, to have people quick, can throw a question across to somebody and get an answer right away.
Yeah.
It's there's value in that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. What's one thing that people don't know about you?
Well, I don't think people knew I coached hockey. So
Are you
I am
head coach?
the head coach
Okay.
of the Sport A team in Farmington.
Good.
So yeah,
Did you play when you were younger?
played into college.
Yeah. What position?
Center.
Okay. Oh,
So
yeah. Good for
I
you.
played at Bethel for a few years.
Okay.
Did baseball too, but
I knew I liked you for a reason.
hockey was my sport.
That's right.
So,
I mean, it is the best sport. I mean, I'm just saying.
If you're in Minnesota,
I'm just saying.
it's gotta be
Yeah.
it's gotta be on your high priority list.
Yeah. So coaching, that's really cool, and that you played all the way up through college.
Yeah.
Really cool.
That's fun.
What's something that I didn't ask you that I should have? Did I not cover everything?
I think you covered a lot of stuff.
I just love learning.
I
I just love learning about you. I think it's fascinating. I mean, every time we talk, I learn something more, which is cool, really cool. So thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing with us. And people can always find me in the corner office, right down the hall. If there's ever questions about commercial,
absolutely,
you are the person to go to.
I love paying referral fees out. So,
Okay.
Yes.
Good. We had a great
even questions on referrals like, hey, I got a guy that might own this or might own that. I have no problem calling and pre-qualifying. I mean, that's usually what I do because a lot of agents will come to me and say, hey, I've got a friend that wants to start a business. And I say, great.
Mm-hmm.
I'll pre-qualify them.
Yeah.
And tell you. Because a lot of times they're like, well, my client, they want to do this and I want to be a part of it. I'm like, I appreciate that. But before I go committing to representing somebody and then, or even telling them they can do something, I want to know what their game plan is and tell them if it's reasonable or not.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people have a dream.
Yeah.
But not all dreams are realities.
Well, they got to have a plan with the dream. If they can't, and if they can't do it now, they've got to have a plan in place to allow them to do it.
Right.
That's
And my job is always just to educate people. I set expectations, and if we're on the same page with expectations, I can help you. But if your expectations are this, and you only have this much money to do it with, and it's not feasible, then we gotta wait. Go find more money, find friends, find partners, and then we can talk about your dream.
Yeah.
But you gotta be able to, you gotta have the right steps in place, and you gotta do it in order. You can't just go look at space and go on and buy something.
Yeah.
You don't have the tools in place to be ready to go. So
that's awesome. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
I really appreciate
My pleasure.
it. It's been wonderful.
Good.